This video examines a group called the Lesser Fritillaries, a subgroup of the larger group Fritillaries. If you're interested in the Greater Fritillaries, they're examined in another SWIBA video. The Lesser Frits are not just smaller than their greater kin. Their patterning, particularly on the undersides, is quite distinct. Of all species, the Meadow Fritillary has the longest flight period in the year, while the Freija and Frigga are only found early in the season. Only two of the lesser frits can be found statewide, the Meadow and the Silver-Bordered, while the other four species are only found in northern counties, with the purplish, a western and more northern butterfly, having even a smaller range in the Badger State. While the greater fritillaries soar to the canopy, the lesser frits tend to stay much closer to the ground, rarely rising above a half-meter altitude. The lesser frits also seem to have a wider range of food sources for caterpillars, though violets are favored by some species covered here. In 1847, Carl Bergman posited generalization that animals within a taxonomic group are larger the further one gets from the equator. This, Bergman's rule, has been applied to mammals and birds with limited success. With butterflies in the northern hemisphere, though, we observe just the opposite, with species within a genus getting smaller as one approaches the Arctic. Freijas, Beloria freya, fly first, mid-May, before the Friggas, who emerge at the end of May or in early June. Their flight periods overlap, so difficulties with identification are possible. Freijas, the smallest of the lesser frits, use members of the heath family as caterpillar host plants, so keep an eye out for blueberries or bearberries in a habitat. In mid-May, I traveled to the wetland paradise of Riley Lake in Price County, roughly 20 miles west of Minocqua, to find Freijas. I've trod through bogs rich with blueberry, but tend to find more Freijas on the roads where travel is much easier. Glassberg, in a swift guide to butterflies of North America, uses the chevrons arranged along wing margins pointing inward as a diagnostic for Freijas. The Frigga, Beloria frigga, which resides near bogs with willow and dwarf birch instead, has black bars that point outwards at the wing's edges. Also, the Frigga has a larger, darker brown coloration around the basal area where the wings extend from the body. If that proves a bit challenging to see, then the undersides clearly separate the two species, with Frigga boasting a purplish, submarginal blur frosted with white below and a white patch on the leading margin of the hindwing, while the Freija's patterning is a more sharply defined arrangement of triangles of white, orange, and dark orange. Friggas also fly in the Riley Lake area from late May into mid-June. Bog fritillaries, Beloria eunomia, begin their flight in early June, and their brief flight is usually done by the end of that month, if not earlier. In northern Oconto County, they can be found at Glocky Lake State Natural Area, just north of Townsend. I've also found them in smaller bogs in that general area. Their populations are densest in the most open areas of bogs where the greatest sunlight penetrates. When Glassberg says their post-medial band of spots are filled with white, he's referring to these spots that help distinguish bog frits from similar species. On the top side, the chevrons at wing's edge point inward. Wisconsin's bog frit caterpillars likely subsist on violets, willows, and possibly cranberry, but more research needs to be done. The silver-bordered fritillary, Beloria silene, is the species most likely to be confused with the bog frit, as they can be found in the same habitats at the same time, though the silver-bordered can be also found in wet meadows. From below, the silver-bordered has an arc of post-medial black spots with no white. Also, this black spot close to the body is absent on the bog frit. But what's most emphatic about this butterfly is the silvery sheen to the spots on the underside that flash in flight when the light catches them. Meadow fritillaries, Beloria bellona, seem to prefer wetter areas but will venture further from such sites in search of food. Douglas and Douglas in Butterflies of the Great Lakes region contend that meadow frits prefer yellow flowers in the compositae as nectar sources, but will also visit clovers, spreading dogbane, and mints. I see meadow frits in many different habitats, from manicured lawn to swamp to old farm field. More than a decade ago, I headed out to the northwestern bog locations to look for the purplish fritillary, Beloria montinus, but never found the bugger. Since 2017, only the swangles have reported the species, most recently in 2023. Mike Reese notes that there are only 5 bogs where this western species has been seen, all in Douglas County, with the first report in 1991. Purplish fritillaries suffer an identity crisis. Some consider them a subspecies of the Arctic fritillary. Some find them a separate species. The Arctic frit, Beloria chariclea, ranges in western states from New Mexico to Alberta and can be found in Alaska. Purplish frits fly in late July into August, so they are only likely to be confused with the meadow and silver-bordered frits. Reese recommends looking at flowering Joe Pyeweed, boneset, and flat-topped aster for nectaring adults, sometimes seen in significant numbers. If you want to find this elusive species, please check out Ann Swangel's articles about bogs and butterflies in Douglas County, downloadable at the SWIBA website.